Hey everybody, welcome back to Savage Workshop. Today we are doing something exciting. So I play a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons with my buddies as well as a bunch of other tabletop games, and we decided that to kind of spruce up our game a little bit, we needed to, or I wanted to build some dice trays because you can't always just roll them on the table. But if you have a nice wooden table like we just got, that's going to dent it up and make it look all nasty. So I did some searching on YouTube and found this clip from a channel called The Horizon where they build a dice tray from scratch.
In this episode, we build a dice tray for free to stop those pesky dice from rolling on the floor.
Is this what you want? Rename my life! Rename my life!
You can't always use the lid of the game like an animal.
And they do a really good job with it, and it works really nice. So I took that design and I went to my buddy who's a carpenter at a cabinetry company and said, hey, this is what I'm wanting to do. And then the creative juices started flowing. He says, well, if you want to do that, we could also do this and this and this, and I'll get into all that later. So with the video, the little clip I just showed, the way they got their material was they went to a website called builddirect.com and they got free flooring samples. The company will send you 5 flooring samples a day for free, lifetime limit of 15. I went through and I had myself and my buddies that I'm building trays for order a bunch. So the only tricky part with using these samples is they've got these grooves in the bottom of them. Then they've got the tabs and the notches on the edges for fitting them together because it is hardwood floor. And then sometimes they'll have a finish. So this one has a finish to it, whereas this is unfinished material. A lot of what I got is unfinished because I didn't want to have to deal with cleaning that off. So I have all these samples that I can use for building the dice tray, which will turn out awesome when I use those. But my buddy, working for the cabinetry company, he's got access to a lot of samples of a lot nicer woods. So he got me hooked up with just some regular white oak and maple and stuff, so your generic woods that you can kind of turn into anything you want. Got me this really nice piece of cherry wood. That's going to be cool. I forget what this is called. I should have written it down, but it may not be easy to see in the camera, but it's got a nice dark color. I think it's walnut. So I'm excited to use that piece. It's kind of got a reddish tint to it. This will be nice because I can use that to make like the trim of the dice tray. And then by far my favorite piece, he says this is pretty rare piece of wood, but it doesn't show very well, but it's got a really nice red tint to it. It smells nice too. A lot of what they use to make the cost bring the cost down on the cabinetry is they use veneers, which if you don't know, it's a thin strip of wood that is laminated over the top of a base material, usually like MDF or plywood or something, just to make it still look really nice, but make it cheaper. My favorite piece is this one. Well, the way my buddy said that we could get these built, rather than doing what the Horizon did and building individual little, just cutting out the strips and then laying down that all together, I presented him with an idea where I cut triangles out of the rough wood, glue that all together to make the base of the tray, and make it look like you're staring at a 20-sided dice. And that's when he said, oh, if you want to do something like that, veneer is the way to go. This is the design I'm going with. So it's going to be a 20-sided die with a rim around it. That's going to be the border. So this will be the actual size of my dice tray when it's done. And each triangle is going to be a different color of veneer. And I've talked to my gaming group, and so far, the majority of them want one. And what I need to do is go through, and I exploded out the drawing of for each of the triangles for the tray. And then what I need to do is cut them out and get them ready to be taped on to my veneer, so that when my buddy comes over with the veneer cutter, we're ready to go and we can just punch it all out, tape it together, and then he'll take it to his shop to get finished. Okay, so here we have my exploded pattern. I was able to do this in a 2D drafting software that I work with. What we're going to do is we're going to cut out each of these just kind of rough so that I have a little space around them. And then once we get all those cut out, I've got a couple sheets so that I have enough for all my buddies too. So we're going to get these cut out. So here we have, I've got everything rough cut. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've numbered each piece so that it corresponds back to my original drawing, so that I know exactly where every piece of this goes, so that when I apply it to the veneer I can piece it back together, because not all these triangles are the exact same size. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of go through on every single one of them and cut it so that I'm less than 1/4 of an inch away from the printed line. It'll make it a lot easier to see and a lot easier of a line to follow and cut on when I tape it to the veneer. So that's what we're going for. So here we have every individual little triangle that will go into building our dice trays. So just to kind of give you an example. Alright, so this is a sheet of walnut veneer. So what I'll do is I'll tape every single one of these pieces down to the color of veneer that I want. And then my buddy will bring the veneer cutter. We'll line it up and we'll cut along every single one of these lines. And then once that is done, we'll take those individual little pieces, we'll line them up and we'll tape them together, and then he'll take it to work and he'll get them pressed together. And when it's all said and done, it's going to be pretty epic. So once we get all that pieced together and we get all those, the triangles in place where they need to go, then we're going to build a border to that, and or to the bottom. That is where this piece of wood will come in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 1-inch block out of it and then split it in half and get 1/2-inch strips. And then we'll run a router along the bottom and take a notch out, or take out the corner, so that the board that we mount the veneer to will kind of fit in that, so that all you see from the side is this board of wood. You won't see any of the baseboard or the veneer edges. That is step 1, guys. I will have the second step done here shortly, hopefully. This weekend my buddy's coming over with that cutter. We'll get all that taken care of. So thanks for joining me on this portion of our little adventure, and I will see you guys in step 2.